Good afternoon. This is Mrs. Fox, and today we are talking about drawing an origami elephant on black construction paper using a white Crayola Colored Pencil. So I have my reference right here. I have my value scale. I attached it to my black paper with my glue stick, and then I recreated my value scale below it. And the purpose for the value scale is that as we draw, we look at the values in our reference. And just for transparency, I am also using the same reference on my computer. And as we look at these references, both on the computer and in print, we're going to compare them to this value scale, and we're going to see how much pencil we need to apply in each area. This is like a puzzle that we're putting together, and there are value shapes in this puzzle. Here's a white triangle and here's a dark triangle, and so we have to decide how much pencil to apply within the elephant to make it look three-dimensional. And we don't want to have outlines, so the first thing I'm going to do is lay out a light contour line drawing in the colored pencil, very light, about as light as this, and then we'll get started. And now we're just going to start to lay these values in slowly and working our way from a darker values to lighter values, because remember, this is colored pencil. It is made of wax. It is very hard to erase. Once it's on the paper and you try to take it off, you will get a nice greasy mess if you have too much that you're trying to erase. All right, so our little recap of how I'm starting. I'm just laying in the values, not really as bright as they necessarily will end up, more like all of these mid-tone values, just to sort of map out where everything is. If you're wondering, why is she making everything the same value? It's because I'm just getting the basics down and getting some of the background in, and we want to work all the way out the edge of the picture plane here so that we can get some environment behind the sky. At this point, have a basic set of values here, but what we're lacking is contrast. And contrast is what helps give us that three-dimensional look. Contrast between the object and the background. Contrast, when I'm talking about contrast, I mean value. So this shape and the background are almost the same value here, but this is much lighter than this. This is about this value. This is about this value. So there should be a big difference between these two things as far as value is concerned. So what I need to do is go over this entire elephant. I need to squint at it, just close my eyes about halfway. And when I squint, a lot of these values run together and they become the same value, and the dimension of the elephant disappears. When I squint at this, I can still see the major value changes. So it's my job to go back in here and increase the values and make my edges nice and crisp. Remember, we don't want outlines, we want edges. So the art elements that we are dealing with here are value, lightness or darkness. Contrast is a design principle, and that's light against dark in this situation. Sometimes it's hue against hue, sometimes it's texture against texture, but what we're talking about here is value. When we're talking about our shapes, not only do we need the right value, but we need the right edge. So this is crumpled up paper. So within this area right here, there are value changes. So you go from a light value to like a mid to dark value here, gets a little bit darker in here. But the edges between these values are really soft because this is the crumpled part of the paper. Or, paper where when it's been folded, there's little indents in it. As opposed to these really sharp edges, visual communication is you telling the viewer what they're looking at. So it's your job to tell the story. You are looking at an origami elephant. If you don't have all of your edges and your values in the right place and appropriately placed, if you don't have that story told properly, then someone's going to look at your drawing and they're going to be like, I'm not really sure what that is. So just remember, you are the visual storyteller. When somebody looks at it that doesn't know ahead of time what you've drawn, they will easily be able to tell what it is. So that is our objective as an artist when we're drawing something like this. So I'm going to take the next few minutes and I'm going to increase my values. I'm going to fix my edges and we will see this guy come to life. The thing that we want to really pay attention to with our contrast is that we don't have values that are so close together that they drown out the edge of the object. So as you watch me increase values, you're going to see the three-dimensionality of this elephant increase. We are getting close to the end. And if you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, when is she ever going to be done? She's almost done. But I just want to show you, it's all of this little extra attention that you pay to things like this crisp edge here that makes this little fold in the paper. Like this little crisp edge here that makes this little fold in the paper, this little bit of light value and this little crisp edge. If you pay attention to the details, when you are finished, you are going to be so impressed with what you have done. And it's just a little bit of extra effort that goes a long way. Like I see I need some values up in here. Patience is key in drawing. And once you get used to expecting a certain level of finish, expecting all the values to be there, it'll become second nature to you. You won't even have to think about it. You just won't be pleased until you have all the values. And then when you have all the values, like see how I just added this and now this looks more like crinkled paper? And it was just a little tiny change, but it made all the difference. There's no big secret to drawing. The secret is to plug in and commit to establishing all your values and all your edges and getting a good solid contour line drawing. That's all drawing is. It's just a commitment to a certain level of attention that you're going to give your work. And once that becomes who you are, then your work will always be excellent. And sometimes you just got to grow that muscle a little bit. That's a commitment muscle. I tell my kids, you gotta kind of get used to being amazing. And being amazing takes hard work. I don't care what you're doing. If you want all the values in this elephant, you're going to have to press the pencil down on the paper a little bit extra. It's not just going to happen. And like I said before, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. There's plenty of people being average. You don't want that. That's not who you are. Look, there's a tiny little value here that I missed. So see, the light is floating over and it's catching right here in these cool little values. There's like a little bit of light sneaking over and then all the light that disappeared under here, creating this shadow. I think I need to make these things a little bit lighter, give this a little more contrast. So I'm just going to work a couple of these last things. I'm going to make my background a little bit lighter out here. I'm going to address some things in here. So I'm just tweaking this little guy. Little tweaks go a long way. Just remember your value, your contrast, your attention to a good, strong contour line drawing that's in proportion. And the rest is just you being fabulous. So thank you for watching my tutorial. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to see the beautiful drawings that you create. This is Mrs. Fox, and have a wonderful day.